Hey, folks, welcome and thank you for joining me on my journey with this podcast where I speak with creators, artists, leaders, all kinds of fascinating people from all over the globe. This week is absolutely no different. I speak with Whitney Maslak, who is a pipe organist in addition to playing piano and guitar. She is an amazing artist with an incredible voice and just amazing talent. I really enjoyed speaking with her, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation as well. It is springtime here for all of us. Here in the ATL, we didn't have very much of a winter. We would coast along and we would get this nice spring preview, and then all of a sudden we winter again, but there has been no snow this year. I remember growing up on Ohio's north coast, Cleveland, Ohio area. And I remember it was about May 10th. And I remember it snowed. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was working at a horse racetrack doing the camera at the 3/8 pole. And it just got so cold and so gross. And all of a sudden, bam, started snowing. Ugh, yuck. But been away from that for a very, very long time. So hope you enjoyed this episode anyway. I was going off on a little tangent. Whitney is out west and she's used to the snow, but it's a small world because she did some schooling in Steubenville, Ohio, which is not too far from where I grew up. And Steubenville, not too far from where that East Palestine train derailment happened. So it's kind of like a sad part of the world, and a lot of good people there. They're really, really struggling, so they're always in our thoughts and prayers, and we kind of touch on that a little bit in this discussion. So hope you enjoy. Where are you at today?
I am in Wyoming. I
Hmm.
live just 50 miles outside of Yellowstone National Park. So we live right outside the east entrance of Yellowstone. So it's very pretty here.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of mountains, lots of wildlife, things like that. So I grew up here and I went away for college and then got back as soon as I could. I love it here.
Wow, where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Ohio. It was in Steubenville, Ohio, Franciscan University.
Steuben.
And
I grew up in Cleveland, so I have
oh, okay.
Ohio
I only went to Cleveland once, but we went there to see Macbeth. I remember it was really
connection.
good. So I was a drama major, so we usually went to Pittsburgh to see shows because it was like 45 minutes away. But
Right.
Cleveland, I think, was 2 hours away. So that was fun. Um, and then I went to Colorado. I worked at a theater there for a couple seasons making costumes. And then Colorado's really pretty too, but Wyoming's just home. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just wasn't quite the same. So I had to
Yeah,
get back.
really. Oh my gosh, I don't think you might be the first in my life I've got to meet from Wyoming. How did you end up going to school in Steubenville just through your research, and that was just a really good match for what your interests were?
Yeah, and well, I actually had two sisters who had already been there. So I'd already visited, and that was handy, to already kind of be familiar with the school and everything. So I knew I wanted to major in theater, and I'm Catholic. And so I wanted to try and find a good Catholic university, and they had a good program. So I thought, oh, this is great. And then actually, while I was there, I ended up picking up a major in German as well. So I double majored. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed both programs, and um, it was just a very unique experience.
Oh, it had to be. Yeah, especially coming up from where you are in the West and then to spend time at that part of Ohio, which Steubenville was once. My dad once drove me there and he gave me he used to give me these long lectures in the car and he would tell me how much Steubenville was like really had some very serious pollution problems back in the day.
Oh, absolutely. I think it still might. I mean, it kind of smells funny. Like if you know, people say the Steubenville smell, and if you know, you know. I think it is a lot better than it used to be, but
But a good school, and if anybody wants to go there and do what you've been doing, I highly endorse that. But yeah, just
absolutely.
watch out for the water. I know they've had a lot of issues in East Palestine, Ohio, not too far from there. And
I know. It's awful, just awful.
It really is. It's really always a terrible thing. This kind of goes off topic a little bit, but not much. But in Ohio, those kind of areas really, they want to create jobs, but then again, it's not so great for the environment. So
Absolutely.
yikes.
It's kind of a tough situation.
It really is. Wow. So that's fantastic. You went through school like that. Did you work through school or just, found your footing there and just focused totally on education and then just went back
Um,
to Wyoming?
I worked a little bit. I actually worked in the costume shop at the theater there, and that was a lot of fun. I had already, I knew how to sew and things like that. So I was looking for a job, and I thought, oh, that would be so much fun because then I'd still be involved with the theater. So I did that for a couple years, and I worked in the little bit with the language departments too. It was very part time though, so I wasn't, you know, totally crazy working and studying and all that, but it was good to do a little bit of both.
Yeah,
And
it's good to have that. Yeah.
right, it's always kind of a good experience to work a little bit, and so you're not just totally
Yeah.
studying and feeling your brain explode all the time.
I did that too. I went to Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, and I did a little bit of work in the media center because I come from a video production background. So I had to work a little bit through there too. I really did. I wanted to like a different experience and not just books and studying all the time. And I wasn't really so much into the bar scene and things like that, which was very big in Athens, Ohio in those days. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to just go through school and just to get your bearings and to find yourself. So you learned German through there. Did you travel abroad and use your German language skills?
I did. They have a program in Austria, actually. So we
Really?
were able to spend a semester over there. And I was just it was my sophomore year. So I was just starting to learn German. And they speak kind of a different dialect in Austria, too, which was it was interesting, but kind of disappointing when you go to speak to people and you think, oh, they don't know what I'm saying. But it was, I mean, reading signs and stuff, it's all the same. It's just the accent is a lot different. I mean, just like how it is here in the US, how you'll go to different states where sometimes you can't understand people if they have a really thick accent. So it's kind of like that. But that was a lot of fun. It was just in this little tiny town, like way up in the mountains in Austria. And so it was really, really beautiful. And, I traveled a few different places in Europe as well when I was there, but I really enjoyed that experience. I hope I can go back someday. That's one of my goals. I would really, really like to go back to that area because it's so pretty and the people were so nice and just very down to earth, just kind of small town type people. So I really enjoyed that. I'm not a big city person. I like to see the sites and go to Rome or those big cities, but then after a while I think, oh, this is just too many people, too much going on here. So I enjoy just kind of seeing the countryside and seeing how real people live. That's kind of the thing that's way more interesting to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, going to the cities, it's like, yeah, nice to visit, but I really wouldn't want to live here. So, and probably your lungs can thank you a lot too by being in
Right.
a more rural area, I'm sure. So, being in Wyoming, that's got to be, do you have like I always think, do you have like extra provisions? Is this where survivalists are at? It's like people think of those areas, they're like, oh, I bet they all have generators and they got 20 years of food supply over there.
Some of them, yeah. And actually, I mean, it's just like for us, like my husband hunts, so
There you
we
go.
always have like a couple freezers full of meat, which is great. And but that's just kind of normal for us. So it's kind of nice to not have to rely on the grocery store all the time. And then it's when you think about it, it's better than the organic meat you'd buy at the grocery store. So I can't complain at all about that. It's great.
Wow.
But yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, you kind of get a little bit of everything around here. I mean, I live in a smaller town of about 10,000, but there aren't really like big cities in Wyoming, but a lot of people are a lot more kind of connected to the land, I guess I would say either with hunting or gardening or different things like that. So, and I think that's nice.
Oh yeah.
uh, to, I don't know, kind of be able to take care of yourself a little bit better.
Oh
And
gosh, yeah.
yeah,
What a
totally
great
relying on
skill,
that.
to be able to hunt. What does he usually hunt for? Is it just deer, elk, things like
Usually
that?
elk, sometimes deer. Elk is his thing, but sometimes deer. And then there's, people around here not so much into bird hunting, but sometimes people will go like turkey hunting or duck hunting, things like that. He doesn't really do that though.
I bet it
So,
would be a bit harder, obviously, physically. It's like, yeah, it's got to be
oh,
tough to try to
totally.
shoot dog.
Yeah, definitely.
So does he get it processed there? How does that work when you take out some elk and I'm sure there's a lot of meat. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, he has it down. He is like it is really he consider himself a professional, but it's funny because when we were first married, we went out deer hunting and it was like this little deer. It was not
Oh wow.
very much meat, and it took us like 3 hours to get this all cut up. And now he'll take a whole elk and it'll be like a half hour. He just knows what he's doing, and it's not really
Wow.
my thing, but he'll take it home and I help him package it and stuff. So it's not really my thing to go out and go hunting,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
but I'm
so cool
thankful
though.
for
Yeah.
it. Definitely.
Yeah, you don't have to rely on that grocery store so much. That's
Hmm.
fantastic.
And
Yeah.
it tastes really good too. It really is. It's good quality meat.
It is. It is totally. When you just like it, you're at one with your kill. There's nothing more interesting than that.
Definitely.
So growing up, getting into music, how did that all start for you? You said you had siblings, so obviously they kind of had an impact, and I'm sure your family probably did as a whole.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I have two sisters, I think I mentioned, and we all took piano lessons. I started when I was 6, and I started singing in a little choir when I was 10. And I'd never sang before, but my mom was like, "Oh, you should try this." I'm like, "Okay." And I really ended up enjoying it. I had a really good choir director who actually taught us the specifics on how to breathe and how to actually have good vocal technique, as much as you can for a group of 10-year-olds. But it was really helpful for learning. And then when I was 11, I started teaching myself how to play the guitar, which I really enjoyed. And that was a lot of fun too, because it was kind of more, I got more into songwriting. And I don't know. It's one thing, I really enjoy piano, but it's more like you're learning, especially when you're learning classical music, you're learning all these other songs that other people have written, which is great. But then with guitar, I think there's more of like a singer-songwriter type of feel to it. And so you can learn other people's songs, but then it's a lot easier to think, oh, I want to write a song and figure out what chords you want. And so that was a really kind of fun, like different way to approach music for me. And so I stuck with those for a while. I took voice lessons as well, and did a lot with like musical theater and things like that as a teen. And then I didn't start playing the organ until I was 22. It was right after college.
Mm.
I There was a really great organ teacher here in my town, and I contacted him, and oh, it was so much fun. He actually just passed away last year, but we have a lot of fun memories.
Oh.
Playing on, he actually built this pipe organ at his church, and it was amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen a pipe organ up close, but it would blow your mind, all the different mechanisms used to create those sounds. And so that was a really, really neat experience, especially on such a nice instrument. And so I took lessons and started playing at my church. I had sang at my church before, but then after I could actually play the organ, I could do more. And so got involved with that. But I always kind of wanted to do something. I always had a dream of creating my own album, and it was kind of one of those pipe dreams that you can't,
Yeah.
you think, oh yeah, this is, everyone's gonna laugh at me if I do this. And then I just started thinking, why not? Like, especially in this day and age, it's not like you have to have a record deal to do something like that. You can just say, I want to make an album.
Yeah.
And um, there's no reason why you can't. And I had ended up making building a recording studio in my basement. I'm not in there right now because we're remodeling, but I'm hopefully it'll be really nice once we're done. But
Oh,
it was just
good.
this corner of our unfinished basement, and that's where I recorded my whole album. It was a lot of fun to be able to do that, because if you rent time in a recording studio, it is incredibly expensive. And we don't even have any professional recording studios around here, so I would have had to travel, and it's just
Yeah, much
not
easier. Have it in the basement.
exactly. And I thought,
Yeah.
if I buy a good microphone and have like the right kind of software and stuff, I can do this. There's no reason why I can't. And so I did, and I really enjoyed. I'd never really done much with like the recording side of music, and so it was really a lot of fun to learn that. And I'm very interested in learning more about just the production and recording and producing. So anyways, I
Yeah.
recording an album. It was almost 2 years ago now. I can't believe it. It was in 2021. This is what it looks like. And
Beautiful.
it's called Love Divine, All Loves Excelling. And I just really enjoyed it. This is what it looks like. I'm really proud of
Well,
it.
that's a
So
nice layout. Yeah. So you've
thank
had some good graphic people on that, and how
you.
did that all come together?
I just had photos done. I have a really good photographer here in town. And so I thought, if I have really good photos, that'll be eye-catching. And so
Yeah.
actually it was at my organ teacher's church. They have like their regular church, and then they have their original church that's just this little white chapel, like the classic little white chapel look, and it was built, I think, in the early 1900s. I can't remember which year, but it was one of the first churches built here in my town. And so I thought, oh, that's perfect. So I got pictures taken right in front of this little chapel, and it was beautiful. And then everything else I just put together on with Adobe. I just put like all the liner notes in. It was actually incredibly easy. I
It
couldn't believe
is.
it. I was like, oh, this is embarrassingly easy. I should have done this a lot earlier on. But anyway, so I was really excited to be able to do that. And another project I've been working on was kind of based on that album. So I guess let me back up. That album was it's 10 tracks of different hymns, and it's just me singing and playing the organ. And so and that's kind of like my thing, is sacred music. And so I thought I'd start with just the hymns that mean the most to me. And so um I just made, this is just my proof, but I just made this sheet music book of
Beautiful.
the same hymns that are on the album, but it's arranged for a choir. It's arranged for a women's choir. So I just got this proof. I'm getting it printed through Amazon, so that's why it has the line on it, because it says not for sale.
Right
I
now,
have
yeah.
to proofread it and get all the
Yeah.
typos, but I'm really proud of it. I'm going to have that for sale here, hopefully within like the next couple weeks. And I really enjoy doing things with choirs, and some of the recordings I've done on YouTube, I've done like 3-part harmony with myself, and it's just really fun to play around with. So I thought, well, why not have sheet music out there um, for choirs? And there's a lot of choirs out there where they don't have enough men. This is a really common problem.
Really?
for,
I didn't know that
uh,
was an issue. Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know why it is. I know there's men out there who can sing, but it's like in so many churches, especially, they're like, oh, we don't have enough men to sing this. And most things are arranged for like 4-part harmony. Women taking the soprano and alto parts, and then men taking the tenor and bass part. But if you have no men, what are you supposed to do?
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and then like if you look at a hymnal, it's all arranged for 4-part harmony. That's just the standard thing. So I thought, well, why not take those parts and kind of redo it? And so these are for 3-part. It's for 3-part women's choirs. So it's still really pretty, but you don't have to worry about if you have any men or not. And I think a lot of people think, oh, we can't do very good music, or we can't do very pretty music because we don't have enough people. But it's like, yeah, you can. You just need
You've
to
proven
think
that.
outside the box a little bit. So I hope it'll help people. I hope that it'll be kind of an interesting thing for people to try.
Yeah. What were your early influences? Was it, did you listen to any pop music, or this was just like you were in the church and that was like your biggest influence, and, Gregorian chants and things like that? Um, did you listen
You
to
know,
any mainstream music?
I actually didn't get into Gregorian chant until a few years ago, which is crazy. But my first, the first like major music influence I had was Hanson. I
Oh,
like an
really?
I loved Hanson so much. It was like the very first cassette tape I ever bought. And and it was fun because I was like close to their ages. And so it was fun to see, other people. It was inspiring to see other people who actually played their own instruments and actually wrote their own songs. I had so much respect for that because you see so many artists who, they're just singing stuff that other people wrote. They're not writing any instruments or not, they're not playing any instruments. So that was really inspiring to me. And I think they're very skilled musicians. And looking back, I can't even believe that they were doing all that when they were so young.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was like my first big thing. But also I had a lot of artists from the 60s and 70s I really enjoyed listening to. My parents had a lot of records that we would get out. And so I always loved John Denver. I still just love John Denver. I think he has a beautiful voice. I love how he played guitar. Absolutely love listening to him and kind of those folk singers of that time, like the Mamas and the Papas. I
Yeah.
love um, I love Cass Elliot. I think she had such a
Yeah.
beautiful voice as well. One of my absolute favorite videos is John Denver and Cass Elliot singing together. They're singing Leaving on a Jet Plane. And
Yeah.
it's their voices together. Just, oh, love that. So I really, really enjoyed all of those artists. When I got a little bit older, I started getting into classical music a little more. I started listening to Andrea Bocelli a lot.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I really like how, I mean, obviously he has a very operatic voice, but I think it's interesting what he does with his music, how not everything he sings is opera or even classical. He'll pair up with pop singers sometimes and do duets and kind of mixes it up a little bit. And I really enjoy that. But that was a big influence on me. I used to enjoy listening to Charlotte Church a lot. Um, and just different singers like that. And so I don't know. I enjoy a lot of different types of music, a lot of
Yeah.
different types. And I would say definitely that like classical and folk are the two biggest influences on my music. Someday I'd love to do an album of traditional folk music because I think it's fascinating all the different countries and the types of folk music that they have. And I think it would be interesting to kind of go down that rabbit hole because
Yeah.
there's a lot out there that you could do.
You
So
probably do
that's
some good stuff. Yeah.
one of my someday projects that I hope to do.
So you keep busy on your own. You're basically an entrepreneur, and it's really amazing. Where can we find your website?
It's just whitneymaslak.com.
Good. And it seems like everything's connected there. You go to that site and yeah, we can see all your social connections there, Instagram, Facebook, all that. That's how I found you is on Facebook. So that's great. I mean, you're definitely marketing yourself very well so people, can get the word and really get to see your talents. It's just amazing stuff here too.
Thank
It's
you. I'm glad you
yeah.
found me.
Yeah, yeah. And through the website we have lots of clips of your works. Just really nice stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so how was it when you first like looked at this organ? I mean, I never saw one up close, like you were mentioning before. Because I had Catholic churches around where I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. But I saw them from afar. So was that a bit intimidating? You're like, oh my gosh, how could I even learn this
Kind
thing? But
of.
I want to do it.
I very naively thought that since I already played the piano, I could just play the organ. I'm like, well, yeah, how hard could it be? Oh, it's way different. So I mean, the keyboard is the same, but on this particular one, there were two. They're called manuals. The keyboards are called manuals. So there were two manuals, but you'll see some where there'll be like four different ones, and you're thinking, what? How am I supposed to do this? And that just corresponds to the excuse me, the different pipes. And so if you want to get a softer sound, the softer pipes might be on one keyboard, and then the big loud ones might be on a different one. So it just depends on like what kind of sound you want to get. But and then the pedals, of course, are a whole new thing, to where, it's basically like the same layout as the keyboard. So that helps if you're already
Mm.
familiar with the keyboard. But you have to play it with your feet. And so you're
How do
thinking,
you coordinate all that? Oh my
my hands
gosh.
and my feet. And it's wild. It really is.
It's gotta be.
Um, it's very interesting though. I mean, I'm nowhere near like the level of some of these organists out there that you'll look up. But if you look up like on YouTube a video of like a professional organist playing, it's amazing what they can do. I can't even believe it. It blows my mind. Takes a lot of coordination, but it's kind of, I like the challenge of it. It's such a fascinating instrument, and every single organ that you play is going to be different too. And so that's the thing that's kind of fun. Like a piano, they're all going to be, I mean, they can vary a little bit in sound, but a piano is going to be the same pretty much. But you never know what you're going to get with an organ, because some of them have a bunch more pipes than others, and sometimes there'll just be like a little organ, that just has a few pipes for like a little chapel or something, and those are fun to play too, because it's kind of more of a challenge to figure out what sound you want to get just from a few ranks of pipes. So it's definitely an interesting thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a number of singles out there. Some of these covers, some of these are originals. What is your discography looking like?
Well, as far as originals, I haven't put out any originals yet. They're just my arrangements of existing hymns, I guess you could say. And it's kind of hard because some of the things I've written are not really the same genre as things I've been putting out right now. So you kind of have to make a decision at first, like, okay, what am I going to really focus on so I don't totally confuse everybody? I always kind of liked the idea of concept albums, because then you can have like that style, and then the
Yeah.
next album you can kind of, if you want to go a different direction, you can, but it has to be contained in that album. So I always thought that was kind of a good idea for artists to do, because I don't know, if you have different styles you want to explore, it's really nice to let yourself do that. But you kind of have to be careful not to totally confuse your fan base and go off in a totally different direction. But yeah, so the things that I've done right now have been just arrangements of existing hymns. And actually, I haven't announced this yet, but I will.
Sure.
I'm actually working on a Christmas album for this year, and so I am in the very, very beginning stages of it. But I am so excited about it. This is something I've wanted to do for a very long time. So those will obviously be Christmas songs that have already been written, but hopefully people will like my take on it. I've actually been working on, because I play the organ, the piano, and guitar, but I've been working on learning how to write for an orchestra. And because that's kind of the direction I want to go in this album, is kind of have more of an orchestral arrangement. And I'm really, really excited about what I will hopefully come up with. So hopefully there will be a bunch of different instruments featured on this album, and it'll be interesting. So um, we'll see. Like I said, I'm in the very beginning stages of just deciding, the songs that I want to do on here and everything.
That's
But we'll see.
exciting. Yeah. Yeah, that is. That's exciting news. And Christmas albums always do great, and especially you can get those online and download. These batch of singles that you have out, did you choose them as personal favorites that you've had like your whole life, or is it stuff that you think that people would want to hear, so you produced those and made your own take on those?
So my first album, Oh God, Beyond All Praising, that I didn't, okay, so I gotta say, I didn't grow up with um, really being into sacred music, I guess I should say, because I wasn't exposed to a lot of good sacred music growing up. And
Hmm.
so I didn't really get into it until probably after college when I started playing the organ and started really diving into like, oh wow, there's all this amazing music out there. Why haven't I heard this before? And so, oh God beyond all praising, I didn't hear until just several years ago. And um I think I sang it at a wedding. I think that's what it was. And I thought, this is really pretty. Why haven't I heard this before? And it's actually more of a modern hymn. It was written in, the words were written in the 80s. And it's based on a tune written by Gustav Holst, who lived in like I can't remember the years he lived, but it was the first half of the 20th century. And so I thought that that was kind of neat because it has a really nice classical sound, but it's not 400 years old either.
Yeah.
And so it goes to show that it doesn't have to be an
Yeah.
old hymn to be really beautiful. And so I really liked that. I thought it was a really nice combination. It's actually based on Holst's orchestral suite called The Planets. And if you go and listen to that, it's amazing. He has a different musical setting based on each planet, and this one is based on Jupiter. And it starts out with this big frantic, big loud frantic um, orchestra playing, and then in the middle it calms down and there's this really really beautiful tune, and just this very calming peaceful feeling, and that's what this hymn is based off of. And so I thought it was really beautiful and I was so excited to work on it. So that was my first single, and my second single was Come Down O Love Divine. Both of these are featured on my album as well, but Come Down O Love Divine was another one that I didn't know until, oh, it was probably about 10 years ago. I was singing with a choir, and we were practicing this, and I thought, I've never, I've never even heard of this before. And they said, Whitney, seriously, you've never heard this? I'm like, no. But it's a really beautiful hymn based on the Holy Spirit. And so I thought it was, I think it was written by Charles Wesley. Hope I got that right. Who was a very, I'm just looking to see. Nope, it wasn't a wrong one. Uh, sorry.
Yeah,
Charles
that's
Wesley
fine.
wrote one of these, and he was really good at hymn writing. Anyways, the words for this were actually written by somebody named Bianco da Siena in 1434. So that's it's very poetic, and that's what I like about a lot of the hymns. They're just very poetic, and the way they say things is just different than our modern simple way of saying things. There, it's a very poetic, beautiful way. So that's why I enjoy them.
Oh, that's really, really cool. And I like this part of your website. You are into selling a lot of swag. Some really neat looking things there. I love the
Thank
Gregorian
you.
chant mugs.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought that that was kind of fun, try to offer something a little bit different. So I know that not everyone even has a CD player anymore. And so you kind of have to think outside the box a little bit.
I do like, but having the physical thing, even with the artwork, and it's not vinyl where you have just a much bigger format, but it's just nice because the artwork is so beautiful, and you have this. I like the tote bag here too. You have a virgin and child embracing tote bag.
Hmm.
And it's just beautiful. Who's the artist on that? That's just if you see this.
I can't, I don't have that in front of me, so I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I love art. I'm a big art lover, and so I like to try and incorporate that into a lot of my work. Especially, I love classical music, so I'm like, why not incorporate like some classical art, kind of get the whole experience together.
Yeah, I love getting artwork with my music. And
Mhm.
we lost so much of that through and unfortunately. I mean, the nice thing is you could take the music with you. We're on the smartphones and things like that. But I do miss like, also having the full vinyl album and the sheets and the lyric sheets and all the artwork. It's just to me there's just something very inspiring about all of that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that I don't know, there is definitely something special about that. I hope someday I can do vinyl. It's really, really expensive.
It's
I've looked into
delicious.
it and there's no companies that will do like a short run of vinyl. So you have to order like a few thousand. And so I'd have to like do pre-orders or something on that, make sure that people would actually buy it so I don't end up like with a basement full of
Right.
records that nobody's buying.
You try to sell them wherever you're performing. It's like,
Yeah,
please
exactly.
buy these.
Please. But it is really neat to have that. It's kind of like a collector's item to have something like that. It is
Yeah.
it's really neat.
But we're so digital. You can go to your website and you can get the album there. You could download it, not even $10. And Love All Divine. Love Divine, all loves excelling. And it looks I could see here that's so do you get more through Apple Music or Spotify? Who's your biggest platform?
Um, I'd have to look. I
I don't
Other
really
bad
look at
habit,
numbers
not
either,
not really looking. I think iTunes is probably the biggest one. Um, yeah, I'd have to check on that and see like what the statistics are there. Um, because I always forget that people can buy through those, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I should go look at that and see how many I've sold. But yeah, I'm pretty sure iTunes is the biggest one, and it's available on all the digital platforms. So like you mentioned, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all anywhere you can buy music, it's on there. So whatever is most convenient is works just fine.
Yeah, on your website. I guess this is also on your album too. The photograph. Who did you get to do that? That's a nice photo in front of a beautiful church.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, that was the little chapel I was telling you about.
yeah.
And that my photographer's name is Kathy Singer. She's a local photographer here, and she's actually been doing photos for me since I was a baby. And
Oh
so
wow.
I'm like, you know what? I know that she does a great job. So she's gonna do the photos for my next album. I'm very excited.
Amazing. And you're well versed in reading music. You
Oh
learned
yeah.
that as a kid.
hmm
I'm
hmm
fascinated.
It's definitely I think it's a little bit easier if you learn it as a kid, but it's never too late to learn. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's people always think like, oh, there's no way I could do that. And it's like, yeah, you can. I mean, it's not that hard. It's basically like a graph.
Hmm.
When you look at it, there's the lines, there's the ledger lines, and the notes just go up and down. So if you think of it like a graph, it's not that hard um, to figure out. But it's just when you have a whole bunch of notes there and you're going, you have to start with something simple when you're
Yeah.
learning.
I'm sure just yeah, probably overwhelming to somebody who has never even dealt with it or seen it before. I'm sure learning piano is the same way too. It's probably a lot easier as a kid, I would imagine.
Sure, sure. I mean, I think it's easier as a kid because you're just used to always learning new things and
Right.
oh, okay, I'm learning new things. And then as an adult, you kind of stop learning. You kind of you're kind of in your groove with things that you know, and that's that. And I think it's good for adults to try something new, try something you've never tried before.
Oh, it's so true. So, and you have kids as well. Are they getting into music as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have three sons
Oh,
and
wow.
I homeschool them, and
Oh, cool.
my oldest is learning piano, and so that's been a lot of fun.
They're
I've
lucky.
really enjoyed
Wow.
teaching him. It's a lot of fun. It's really great to see him to see things click, like, yes, you can do it. So it's brings back a lot of memories for me when I was first learning.
Oh, for sure. It was just great. And it's nice your husband supplies the food and
Absolutely.
keeps the
He's a
house
good
going.
provider for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, anyway, best wishes to you.
Thank
I
you.
really think this is just I'm so glad I stumbled on you. It's just like this music is just like nothing I've really ever heard before. So
Oh, that's great. Yeah, well, check
yeah.
out my, if you haven't yet, check out my YouTube channel. I have quite a few different things on there besides my album, so you can always check on that. I'm trying to upload on there regularly to kind of keep people entertained. And I haven't lately because we're remodeling my studio right now, but once I get that done, I'm going to start doing online concerts again. And so I do those through Facebook. I do live concerts. So that's a lot of fun. And so hopefully you can check that out sometime once I start doing that again.
That was big through the pandemic, and that's why I
Mhm.
pretty much started this
Yeah.
podcast. It's just
Oh, nice.
spotlight artists, and they were relying so much on these Facebook concerts and trying to get donations and things like that. So,
Totally. Yeah, that's how I got started with it. And then I just kept doing it because people enjoyed it. So it's a lot of fun. And I don't tour or anything because I'm a stay-at-home mom. And so I'm like, well, this is great. I can just do stuff online and reach a bunch of different people that way.
oh, absolutely. Well, best wishes
Thank you.
and good luck on the new studio, and we'll definitely hear from you at Christmas time.
For sure.
Looks great. Have a good one. Thanks for
Okay.
joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.